on a Friday afternoon. Hi, everybody. Nice to have you aboard on Good Friday on the second day of April, 2021. You and me now commence the broadcast day here on a great Sirius XM 82. Good to have Colin Schmeling in the house today. Eddie Erickson. We got a lot to do here today. Mike Woodson a little later on. Maybe Bob Wenzel on the state of the Final Four. Maybe a little Roy Williams stuff for Bob as we take you home here on this afternoon show as far as the world of sports is concerned. Plenty of things to do today. We got a breaking story, which we'll give you right now. And we'll get into it a little bit, and we'll see if we can get your calls involved, and away we go. Baseball just announced, we start here about 5 minutes ago, that they are going to move the All-Star game out of Atlanta because of the Georgia voting laws now that the legislature enacted. So they are going to move the All-Star game out of Atlanta. Not sure where the new city will be, but they put out a big statement and everything else. And so out of Atlanta they go with baseball. Now, let me say a couple things about this. First off, I haven't delved into it, and I bet you many people in the sport haven't either. I'm talking about the players, fans, media. I have not delved into it that seriously with the laws that the Georgia State Legislature did enact recently regarding the new policies as far as voting goes. Now, listen, Georgia with a Republican legislature voted for Biden during the election. They voted Democrat. And on two separate runoffs, they voted Democrat. I'm with the Republican legislature. So I don't. So I know that. But I don't know the specific laws. I've read a little casual on it, but I haven't focused in on it that carefully. So I don't really have an opinion on whether I think the laws are bad laws, good laws. I am certainly not going to let the left media tell me what to think. I mean, because they will scream and yell. And I read some things a couple of days ago, we should bail out of the Masters and all that. I pay no attention to that. The media on the left, and I don't really pay any attention to the media on the right either. But I'll make my own determination on what I think is fair and what is right. But I am not going to be swayed by anybody who, in the Washington Post, let's put it that way. Now, as far as the sport is concerned, whether Manfred and company and owners, and they decided to move the game, whether they moved it because, they agree that the laws are bad laws and, Jim Crow in the South, what the president said. I don't think that's the case, because if that was the case, they would have decided long ago to move the All-Star game. It took them a long time to make that decision. But baseball today made the right call because they got to look at it from their own sport perspective. And baseball cannot have an All-Star game in the next 3 months and everything else, and everybody discussing of whether the game should be in Atlanta or not be in Atlanta, and then have everybody weigh in on social media and in newspapers, and then have players weigh in, as a couple of guys have already, including the Players Association president, Tony Clark, and Stanton, the Yankee, weighing in on what they think should and should not be done with the All-Star game. They could not take a chance, the commissioner's office, that they left the game in Atlanta, and then all of a sudden, 2 weeks before the game, because of their own beliefs or because of public pressure, who knows, Mookie Betts, Stanton, Lindor, Aaron Judge, you name it, decide not to play in the game. Players don't like to play in the All-Star. Half the players don't like playing the All-Star game anyway. I mean, half of them, they want to be voted into the All-Star game, but they don't want to play in the All-Star game. They want the days off. So half the guys who are voted in rather not go. And so if you give them an excuse not to go, whether it's, purported to be a good excuse or not regarding the Georgia's legislature, they're not taking games off against the Braves when they visit Atlanta. So if you give them an excuse not to go, they could, whether they believe one way or the other on this, they would say, I don't want to go to the All-Star game, period, so I'm not going. And he could not, Manfred that is, could not take that chance that he has an All-Star game all revved up, ready to go in Atlanta, and, 8 days before the game, he has a boycott with 15, 20 players. And then anybody who does show up looks terrible because, everybody's going to say that he's a Neanderthal for coming and playing the game, and calling him, racist and all those kinds of things. So Manfred could not win here, so he did the best thing, and he did it quick. Now, you could have argued he could have done it a month or two ago when the laws were enacted. I have to look at the exact date. But the bottom line is, he got asked it yesterday in a couple of interviews he did on Get Up with Greenberg, and he did a couple of others too, including Carl Ravitch on Baseball Tonight. And he basically, said we are under discussion on that. And then a day later, he says, let's get out. It's not worth our aggravation, and we'll move on to somewhere else. Now, remember, they had a lot of plans in Atlanta this year. Remember, Henry Aaron died, and they love Aaron, and Aaron's a Brave. So they had and it's a new ballpark, and, they had a lot going on in that city here in July. So this is not a hasty decision, Manfred, from a business perspective. It's not easy scheduling these All-Star games. This is a big convention, these All-Star games, for ball clubs and for the sport. It's a very big deal for the Atlanta team. They put a lot of their season ticket packaging involved in All-Star game. People love the home run derby. I mean, it's a big deal. And, whether the game means anything, and it's a bore, you and I both know that, but the whole 3-day thing, it's a baseball convention. It's like the NBA All-Star Game. The NBA All-Star Game moved out of Charlotte there a few years ago, for a variety of reasons. And so as a result here, baseball is not going to sit back and let the NBA get kudos for doing the right thing, so-and-so, and they sit there and do the wrong thing. So it's the right move here by Manfred. It's a move. It delays him. He's not going to get pounded. Now, he won't get praised because, the media doesn't want to praise him. So nobody's going to sit there and praise the sport. They're going to, probably going to say, well, what, he had to move. They're going to take my thought. He had no choice. That's the attitude the media is going to take with this. They're not going to give Manfred any credit. But the bottom line is it's a decision that any one of us who was in his shoes would make, because it's a business decision as much as anything else. He can't have a game for 3 days, and all they're doing is talking about these Georgia voting laws, and then he has 15 players boycott because of it. He can't have that, especially now with pandemic and all the issues going on with the sport. Plus, he wants to tone down the temperature with the Players Association, not tone the temperature up. And Tony Clark has already come out and said this is a discussion we like to have about moving the All-Star game. So the last thing he wants to do is give Clark one-upsmanship with the media as far as playing a game in Georgia when he tells everybody we shouldn't be playing a game in Georgia. Rob looks bad, and then all of a sudden he gives the union a leg up here from a media perspective. He didn't want to do that. So it's the right decision all the way around for Manfred. You can't argue with it whatsoever. And this is the sport that had the first black athlete in Jackie Robinson. This is a sport that made Jackie Robinson Day basically a baseball holiday, April 15th, back in 97. They've had their issues with relations like all sports, but they're way ahead of the curve compared to what the NFL and compared to, of course, the NBA and everything else. They were the first. All right, the NBA was around in 47, no black players. The NFL was around for 30 years, no black players. Baseball. With Ricky brought Jackie in. So, they do have a good reputation from that standpoint, and I can understand him making this move here today. So, Atlanta out, All-Star Game 2021. Where they're going from here, I have no idea. Couldn't guess the city. I guarantee you, though, the work they're going to do in a city, there's going to be no issues with politics. I guarantee you that. They will find the most benign spot that they can to put this game on in 2021. They will find a spot that nobody can quibble about, wherever that spot might be. And again, I'm sure half the population is going to hate this, kowtowing to the left, and half the population is going to love it. It's 50-50 right down the middle. I don't know enough. I'm going to tell you right honestly, I don't know enough about the laws that were enacted to have an opinion about whether I think they're prejudiced or not. One thing I am going to do, I am not going to listen to the left tell me that these are Jim Crow laws. That I'm not doing. I make my own decision about that. I'm not going to listen to Nancy Armour tell me, well, you know what a disgrace. I'll make my own call on that. We'll take a timeout. We take a break. 12 after the hour. We'll get back into the sport in a sec. We're on Mad Dog Unleashed.